I think I've done all that I wanted to do. As long as I can be helpful and keep going, that's the main thing. My name is Clifford, but call me Cliff Crozier, and I was born on 6th of September 1915. Makes me now 101. I was born in Birkenhead, in the Wirral, Cheshire. Apart from the war and the time I was at college, I've been all there all my life. I've been retired now for 38 years. It always pleases me, though, that they keep robbing the government, really, of my pension. It's just that you keep going. It's only a number. 101 is only a number. And you live for the day. A spot of whiskey occasionally helps, although it's not on the national health.
I have so many fond memories. Sometimes sit down in my chair and I think back. Emilia Teresa Harper. Teresa. It's Teresa because it's Czechoslovakian. 103, my goodness me. 3 is my lucky number. I have always been lucky. I've never been unlucky, touch wood. Oh, there's wood underneath there.
You will hear British people use this phrase a lot. Touch wood is a common superstitious phrase that we use to kind of avoid bad luck. We often use this phrase when a situation is going really well. For example,
I have always been lucky. I've never been unlucky, touch wood.
The meaning kind of depends on the context, but if I had to translate it simply, I would say, 悪いことが起こらないように in Japanese.
I was in Czechoslovakia when I was a young girl, and I was living with my grandparents because my father was a prisoner of war. We came over to England to be with our father when he was released from the war. Everything makes me happy. I love talking to people. I like doing things. I like going out shopping. Once I go out shopping, I don't want to come back. I don't think there is anything that I really need to do because I've done practically everything that I ever wanted to do in the past. I've got beautiful memories, you know. I can live happily forever after because of my lovely memories.
I want to quickly introduce an important word here. As we kind of grow up and approach the end of our lives, our sense of values change. But there are many things that are really precious to us, not because they're expensive and cost a lot of money, but more because of their sentimental value. This is the emotional value that an object has, usually because of our personal memories that are attached to this object. What are some things that have sentimental value for you?
Do you know Sri Lanka? I climbed up the tower there, Sirigura, which is 600 feet up to the top. I've always been fond of the water, and I did a lot of yachting when I was young as well, another part of my misspent youth. My name is John Dennerley. I'm 102 and a half. I was born at an early age, before World War I, in Denton, Manchester. I've had a relatively easy life, even with the RAF 5 years of war. It was an adventure more than a penalty, even amongst the bombs.
Even amongst the bombs? Like, that is incredible. Most people in our current generation tend to worry about things like relationships, work, and passing tests. And something relatively simple, like not getting into a good university, that can feel like it's the end of the world. But when I watch somebody like this talk about, the war and the bombs, and then say, oh, I've had an easy life, it's no problem. That just makes me think we take a lot for granted.
But I wasted a lot of time, my childhood, entertainment, that sort of thing. Even staying up till sometimes right through from midnight right through to breakfast time, and Mother would come down in the morning and say, haven't you been to bed, John? And I'd say, no, I've been listening to the Schenectady, New York on the radio with the jazz band. I enjoyed it. And then I sort of settled down once I became a pharmacist.
I don't feel any older than I was, 20, 30 years ago, except with my limitations.
I don't feel 29, but say 79, 69, 79.
I'm not going yet. I'm still strong. I'm very, very strong. I've never realized how strong I am. It's all the food that my mother cooked and first of all grew in the garden.
This woman says, I'm really strong. And I completely agree with her. She still looks super healthy. And can I just say that she still speaks really eloquently? She speaks even better than a lot of teenagers and young adults, even though she's over 100 years old. It's just mind-blowing. Anyway, I'm going off track. So, when talking about life expectancy and health, there's a very special thing called blue zones. And in the world, there are only 5. In a nutshell, a blue zone is a place where the people who live there have an especially long life expectancy. Right now, the 5 blue zones in the world are these. I'm not going to talk about all of the keys to a long life here, but some of the really common things that you can find in all of the blue zones are a good diet with things like some red wine and olive oil, some regular exercise like Tai Chi or farming outside, and more interestingly, ikigai. In other words, a reason that you want to get up out of bed every morning. This reason or purpose can be supporting your grandchildren or helping your community. Lots of things to think about. Well, let's go back to the video.
I make my own bread by hand. I'll probably be making some today.
That's my online. Tesco's coming tomorrow.
Quick note, Tesco is the name of a British supermarket, very similar to something like Summit in Japan. So when he says Tesco is coming tomorrow, he means that all of his online shopping is being delivered to his house tomorrow. By the way, can I just say that this man has such a lovely smile? I just really want to give him a handshake or a big hug. Oh, so cute. Oh my gosh.
We always had fresh food when we were youngsters. Always. Straight from the garden into the pan and onto the plate.
Skimmed milk, kitchen towels.
6 ounces of flour, 2 ounces of sugar, and 6 ounces of
Butter.
butter.
Apples or gooseberries, lots of gooseberries.
Shepherd's pie.
I don't have many failures. If I'm making a cake and it fails, it becomes a pudding.
This is such a simple but beautiful quote. If I'm making a cake and it fails, well, it just becomes a pudding. What do you think this means? In other words, he's saying that even failures can be useful. And it's similar to the Japanese phrase, 失敗は成功のもと, or something like that. You can see he's really the type of person who tries to look on the bright side of life and find the silver lining. I think he's an awesome role model.
Oh, my marriage was absolutely wonderful, heavenly, heavenly, heavenly. I lived with him from the age of 16 until he died at I think it was over 70. I wanted to marry a handsome man and a man with good manners, and I had both.
We did have problems, but we got through them. And I think nowadays people give up too easily.
Well, I'm always optimistic, and she was always pessimistic, so we got on very well together.
When it comes to relationships, often romantic ones, we often say that opposites attract. This means that people who are very different, for example, pessimists and optimists, can surprisingly fall in love or become great friends. However, another great idiom is birds of a feather flock together, which is basically the opposite of opposites attract. It simply means people who are similar tend to gather together and become friends.
Make the most of it, because especially if it's the first love, there's nothing like it. When I had my first children, I had twins, but unfortunately I lost the twins, and that was the most tragic moment in my life. But I had a daughter, and I enjoyed her company very much indeed, loved her immensely. When I lost my first baby, it was one of the twins went. I was devastated. Eventually, of course, you get used to it, because life goes on regardless. You get healed, and what you never forget. So, it's really wonderful to have something left behind, even if they are no longer here. They're there. They're in your mind. They're in your air, all around you. It's really a wonderful, wonderful feeling. I think a lot of my children, even today, after all these years. I can still sit here and I can talk to them, and as if they were still alive. When people pass this way, they hear me talking to myself. They think I'm crackers. But I'm not crackers. I'm only just thinking about my children. Any regrets? None. None whatever. I can tell you right from my heart. None whatever.
If I'd have been more attentive at school in my early life, I'd have studied more and harder. And although I didn't do too bad in the end. So. But I think the sooner you start studying, the better.
I was ill at college, and my father came to collect me, and I didn't want to go back with him. I wanted to stay at the college with the friends for a short time, and I always regretted that my dad had made the journey, and I hadn't taken it up, his offer to take me back. I didn't do the right thing by my father. That's the thing, because I admired him very much. I never said anything.
You've got to keep up with the times. So what was good in sort of 80, 90 years ago doesn't work these days.
Communicate, speak with your parents, and take their advice too, or at least consider it. You don't always have to follow it, but certainly don't throw it out of the window.
I recommend anybody, if they find the right husband, to marry. Not just live together, marry. Be closer and closer. It seems to me as if you are happily married and happily living, that is the finest remedy for all ills, because everything is in perfect harmony.
Time spent on reconnaissance is seldom wasted, and be as independent as you can, but don't be reluctant to ask for help when you think you need it.
Good idea is to behave well to other people, show them respect, and help them as much as you possibly can, and it will be repaid hundredfolds.
My motto for life, there was an old Scottish comedian, Sir Harry Lauder, who used to sing, "Keep right on to the end of the road." And that's my motto.
Keep right on to the end of the road. Keep right on to the end. Go the way.
Oof. Great stuff. I don't know if I would say I'm emotional, but this kind of interview is really, I guess, thought-provoking. Yeah, I think that's the best word. And at the end, the man who said, what was it? Be as independent as you can, but don't be reluctant to ask for help if you need it. That really struck a chord with me. In today's society, being a really hard worker is highly valued. But unfortunately, in places like Japan, there are a lot of social issues that are related to things such as the gakureki shakai, karoshi, and zangyo culture. There are also a lot of mental health problems. Not just Japanese people, but I think everyone. You know, if you're struggling, then you should open up and talk to your family or friends. But if you are fine and mentally healthy, then look at your friends, look at your family, and, just send them a message online. How are things going? Are you okay? Because just a small comment or question or message can have a huge effect. But I think we'll leave it there for today. I hope it was useful and you learned some new English phrases today. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day and bye for now.
Go the way, be long, let your heart be strong. Keep right